My name is Chris King, reporting live from Gastown in Vancouver. I'm here on behalf of Vision Zero Vancouver. Vision Zero is a group of citizen activists that are trying to eliminate road violence in the Metro Vancouver area. Right now, there is a car-free trial that is about to start up in Gastown. Technically, still about 2 weeks away. It's going to start on July 1st. There's a construction that has just been finished. They've redone some of the bricks here. To do that, they had to already prevent the cars from entering over here. The personal issue that I'm having with this car-free trial is that they're reducing car access to the area, but they're also not improving the other kinds of access to the area, specifically bike access. So there's some ways that you can get here by bike, but none of them are actually great. None of them are protected the whole way. Studies that have shown that only about 5% of potential cyclists are comfortable riding with traffic. And there's another stat that says if any part of the route doesn't feel safe, then mentally a cyclist will consider that whole route not safe and not come that way. The closest analogy I can think of is if you built a huge outlet mall, say like a Swanson Mills type of mall, but the only road to get there was a logging road. And years into the trial, they'd be like, how come no one's coming to our outlet mall? You'd be like, because I don't want to ride on your logging road. They'd be like, you can still get here. And you'd be like, yeah, but I'm not going to. If you don't improve cycling access, you won't get more cycling. Once you're here, we want you to give your feedback to the city and make sure you let them know, hey, I really like this car-free trial, but you got to improve the cycling access. We'll have some links in the description. You can call 311, go to the 311 website. It's just a very nice change that they've made here, and I personally want it to last for more than 2 months. I think they should do this for all the time. Anyway, that's enough about me. Let's show you the bike routes. So we're starting our tour of the cycling routes to Gastown in the northeast corner of the city. We're going clockwise around. Right now we're in the Hastings Sunrise area, also right near the PNE. So we've got a great road here. It's called Wall Street. This bikeway actually connects all the way up with the Second Narrows Bridge. So if you wanted to come over here from North Van, this is also a good way to do it. I've done that route many times. Sometimes I'll just take a lap around North Van over the bridges. It's fun way to kill a couple hours. Problem is, once you get here, the bike route kind of just dies. There's some traffic calming measures, so it feels like you should be able to keep going. But once you get to Powell Street, there's functionally no bike route at all. The official bike route actually takes you up through this little park, and then you get to Lakewood, and then you can go over across Powell Street that way. In the city's defense, they are planning a whole big overhaul of this whole route. It's called the Portside Greenway, and it's an amazing plan if they can get it through. So as you're going your cycling adventure to Gastown, if you come this way, I would also suggest you contact the city and tell them, hey, let's do this Portside Greenway. The route along Powell Street is not good enough. We need a safer way to get there. So for that reason, and this is going to be a little controversial, I don't recommend taking this official way to go. I recommend taking the most efficient way. Unfortunately, that is going on the sidewalk. But you know what? If they're going to make improvements, they got to see where people are going. So we'll take you along that route. We'll do some time-lapse photo. We'll stop along the way and sort of let you know what to look out for. But the official bike route, you can see it on the map. We'll show it on the map. It just doesn't make any sense, which is why they're redoing it, and that's why I suggest going this way. So this is what I'm talking about. If you are coming down here and you didn't know you were supposed to go to Lakewood, you end up here, and all there is just a stop sign and all these cars coming around the corner, and it's like, this is not comfortable for any cyclist. So officially, if you were gonna go this way, you're supposed to ride on the road here, but like, come on, man. I'm an extremely experienced cyclist, and I will not ride on this road because that is just not safe or fun to be on. So we go on the sidewalk. All right, I just want to point out a couple safety gotchas here. So coming along this way, we do have the Princeton pub. Sometimes there's people on the sidewalk and they're coming from the liquor store as well. On this side, we've got a very narrow bus stop as well as a restaurant and a couple, I think there's a cafe, a bakery or something. So if you're coming this way, which is the way I recommended, please go slow. Please watch out for everybody. But as soon as you get past this bus stop, it's basically just wide open after that. Here's where Powell hooks up with McLean Drive. This is the official bike route that you're supposed to take. You can see once all the cars are done going by, there's a little piece of paint there to let you know that that's the official bike route. The thing I find funny about coming here is that, like, this piece of sidewalk we're not supposed to bike on, but this piece of sidewalk is the official bike route. Like, they're exactly the same. So I don't know, just do whatever feels safest to you. We've also got a nice sign here about the upcoming Portside Greenway project. Let the city know how you feel about that. All right, we're gonna continue on this way over the overpass, which, as a reminder, the overpass is not cycling infrastructure, that's car infrastructure that they added a bike lane to. But if it was fully meant for cyclists, they could have designed it differently. Then that's gonna turn into Alexander. And Alexander takes us all the way to Gastown. So let's check it out. We're on Alexander Street here. It crosses Main here, and then you continue on to Maple Tree Square. But I just want to talk for a second about traffic calming. So here we've got these lovely cement blocks. The interesting thing about this traffic calming is all the way from the bridge to here, there was no traffic calming. Only these blocks are the only thing. But just by having these, it cut down so much traffic on Alexander Street. And of course, this car that came by isn't supposed to be coming through here, but you know, you can't control everyone. You'll notice on the clip there was some emergency vehicles that came through this way. So there does have to be a trade-off between emergency vehicle access and not allowing personal vehicles in. But it is kind of interesting to me how very small change, just adding cement blocks in one spot, changes the dynamic of this whole neighborhood. Previously, coming over the bridge, half the traffic would have turned off and come this way, and they would have barreled down here very fast because they're trying to get downtown. Then they would have cut through Water Street. So basically all they've done is barricaded off like 2 spots, and it's cut the traffic down completely. It's so great. All right, we are back in East Van. This street is called Adanac. It connects up with Union Street. This is actually probably one of the most used bike routes in the whole city. I used to live on Commercial Drive, and I came down here all the time. So it's also a really neat example of how it doesn't take a whole lot of traffic calming to basically close down a road and make it accessible to cyclists. So as we ride down this way, we'll do a time lapse. We've basically got just a few modal filters along the way. Cyclists can get through, but not cars. And if you're coming from basically anywhere south of Hastings Street and north of the train tracks, you're probably going to get funneled onto Union Street. So this is a good way to go. You are kind of riding with parked cars on either side, but almost all of the cars along this way are people who live in the neighborhood, so they're used to it. They probably cycle themselves as well. So it really is has become a very cycling friendly route. So let's check it out. All right, so we've made it to the end of Union Street. As you can see from this time lapse, there was only 3 spots where there was actually a modal filter. So it doesn't take a lot to actually build a bike route, just a couple piles of concrete. From here, you're gonna wanna continue on. You can either head downward. We'll take you to Carroll Street, which is the quickest way. For reasons we'll get into in a minute, Carroll Street is only okay. If you want the absolute most protection from traffic, you can get onto the viaduct. It is boring because it's a long cement thing and you do have to go up a hill, but it is technically the safest way to get to Gastown, the most separated from traffic. But we'll explore both of those options in just a minute. All right, we're here at Science World. This is actually a very important junction for almost anybody who is cycling to Gastown. If you're coming from Union Street, which we just covered, we'll meet up with you at Carroll Street Bike Lane. If you're coming from anywhere south of the Grandview Cut, so Trout Lake, Great Northern Way, Kingsway, Mount Pleasant, Cambie Village, Olympic Village, all these areas, you'll end up here because it's just the best way to go. It's where you'll end up. Even if you're coming from West Van, like Kitsilano or Point Grey, you're probably still going to want to come this way. You could go over the bridge, but then you have to go over the bridge, and also then you're downtown and it's not nearly as nice. Stay on the seawall, come this way. It's the nicest ride in the whole city. Unfortunately, and we're about to discover, the Carroll Street Bike Lane, which is a major collection point for everyone cycling in the city to get not just to Gastown, but also to downtown in general. It's just not good enough. All right, so far so good, but now we've reached the start of the Carroll Street Bike Lane. First problem is that these 2 intersections, Pacific and Expo, where they meet up with Carroll, they're what you call dumb intersections. So they have the same timing any time of day, no matter what's going on. So you get a situation where there's a concert happening at one of the stadiums or a sports event, and there's just cars everywhere and they don't have time to go through and they're all backed up. They're driving onto the bike lane because otherwise they're blocking the road. And then at nighttime, when there's no cars at all, it's the same timing. So you're sitting there, there's absolutely no cars coming. I just go for it. I'd rather go when there's no cars going than have the light change. And then I have to hope the cars coming towards me that are turning left are gonna see me. The other major problem is that unless you hit this one when it's a fresh green and you ride really fast, you're always gonna hit a red at the second light. So they're also not timed for cyclists trying to get where they're going. So it's kind of annoying. But let's keep going and talk more about the problems of Carroll Street Bike Lane. A quick note here as well that there's an advanced pedestrian signal, which in my world also means an advanced cycling signal because they're safer for everybody. All right, so the interesting thing about the Carroll Street Bike Lane is that it's actually one of the first bike lanes built in the city. Since then, we've learned a lot about bike lanes, and right now the Carroll Street Bike Lane does not conform to the city's standards for what they call a AAA cycling network, which is a type of cycling network that's safest for all users of the road. There's 2 major issues. One is called the right hook. So I'll try and film a little bit of what is going to cause the right hook. What happens is there's a car turning left, and the cars behind it want to go around that car, so they go into the bike lane to get around that car, or they're just turning right and they don't check for bikes in the bike lane. They don't use their mirrors. And so there's better ways to design these intersections to reduce the likelihood of the right hook. We just haven't done that yet. And the next major issue with the Carroll Street Bike Lane is that from Kiefer Street all the way up to Water Street, oh, that guy's driving in the bike lane, it's got soft shoulders. So it's very easy for a car to just hop up on the shoulder. So we get all the time taxis, Ubers, delivery drivers, police officers parking in the bike lane, which is very easy for them to hop up, but it's much more difficult for especially a less comfortable cyclist to hop down into traffic. And there's some cobblestones, and it just can make for a very harrowing experience trying to hop down this curb into traffic if you're not expecting to have to do that. I just fucking pulled right in front of me. exciting. There was a taxi on the bike lane. There was an Uber that literally pulled in front of me. If those people were faster to get out of their cars, I would have been doored. Luckily, I was paying attention to that. There did seem to be a legitimate police emergency going on. They've got it taped off a little bit here. I still say that when there's a legitimate emergency, they don't need to park in the bike lane. They can just park in the car lane, which is what they have to do on any other street, whether it's only has a sidewalk or it has a protected bike lane. So just because this one has soft shoulders, it's somehow okay to just be in the bike lane all the time. Kind of annoying. So I still do recommend you come this way. You just got to be a little careful, keep your head on the swivel. My strategy for when there is anything in the bike lane is to just ride in the car lane as slow as possible. And then if people get mad, I'll just say, I'm just watching out for, traffic safety, and I'll just go real slow, just to be a bit of a dick. And one more thing I'll quickly add about the Carroll Street bike lane. Here at Cordova, it kind of just ends. There's this big cement block here, presumably to stop bikes from just slamming into this patio at high speed, get them off the bike lane. But they did add this nice little orange block here so that cars are less likely to try and go through this way. So there is kind of a cycling path. You can see, hey, the system works, that person used it. However, on some of the busier nights, this red block that is not filled with water just gets pushed back into the bike lane. I'm assuming by taxis or something. Anyway, so it'll be my mission to keep putting that back where it's supposed to be until the end of the car free trial. We're here at the south end of the Cambie Street Bridge, trying to find out if there's a way to get to Gastown that's protected all the way from the Cambie Street Bridge. However, I will add the caveat that I don't think there is a way to get to the Cambie Street Bridge that is protected the whole way. Cambie Street is not protected, Yukon Street is not protected, nothing from Olympic Village is protected the whole way. Or the one path that is protected that goes past the SkyTrain station basically stops at the next block. That turns into Heather, which is a bike route, but it's not a protected bike lane. So if you are trying to come to Gastown, I would not recommend taking the Cambie Street Bridge, because once you're here, you're already so close to the seawall that you should just take the seawall and then go around and then go up Carroll Street. However, as we mentioned, Carroll Street has its own set of problems. So assuming you can get to the Cambie Street Bridge, let's see if there's a way that you can get from the Cambie Street Bridge to Gastown that is protected the whole way. Now, I don't even know actually what the route is. I haven't done it myself, so this is going to be a bit of exploration for both of us. And we'll add a little notations to the route if we need to let you know which way to go. All right, let's do it. We've made it to the north end of the incredibly exciting Cambie Street Bridge. So normally, as I suggested, you wouldn't want to come over this way. But if you did, there's not even really a good way to get to Gastown from the north end of the bridge. This pedestrian path does go directly down to Pacific, which then will take you to the Carroll Street bike lane, which, as we mentioned, is not actually a protected bike lane. But the problem is you're not supposed to take your bike down there because it's a pedestrian path. So I'm not saying take your bike down this pedestrian path. I'm just saying it's the most direct way to get to Gastown if you find yourself on the north end of the Cambie Street Bridge. We're going to take down this little zigzaggy bikeway. From there, you can also get onto Pacific, the exact same spot where this lane goes, but again, Carroll Street bike lane. So we're going to try going the other way into downtown past the stadiums, and we'll see if we can find a way from here to Gastown that actually is protected the whole way. I don't even know if there is a way. We'll find out. All right, we've made it to Beatty and Dunsmuir. I just want to point out that as I was riding along Beatty, I rode past BC Place. The Rolling Stones concert is tonight, and it's happening like in a couple hours, and there's people everywhere. And on a bike, it doesn't slow you down at all. There's cars everywhere. They're having a nightmare of a time, and I'm just cruising on my bike, and it's a nice day, and everyone's having a good time except the people in their cars. So the Beatty Street bike lane does continue on down this way. It is a protected bike lane for one more block, but then it literally just stops and there's no more protection along Beatty. I also wouldn't recommend it because there's two restaurants that have their patio. Just like there's the restaurant, the bike lane, and then the patio. Oh, guy almost got hit by a car. So the servers on the patio are pretty good about checking for the bike lanes, but the customers are not. I wouldn't recommend this piece of bike lane. However, along Dunsmuir, this is also where the viaduct dumps out. So as we mentioned earlier, if you are definitely wanting to take the most protected way to get to Gastown, you can come along Union Street, get on the Dunsmuir viaduct. It's boring, it sucks, it's car infrastructure, it's not meant for bikes, but at least it's separated and protected. Then you can continue along Dunsmuir, which I'm about to do, and I believe we can go up to Cambie, and then Cambie will give us a protected bikeway to Gastown. So let's find out. All right, we did it. We've covered half the city, and so far we found one way to get to Gastown that's protected the whole way, with a major caveat. The caveat is if you can get to the Cambie Street Bridge protected the whole way, which honestly I don't think many people can do. Maybe we can do a second video about how you can actually get to the Cambie Street Bridge. From the Cambie Street Bridge, you're going to take Beatty past BC Place, then you're going to turn at Dunsmuir, go where the viaduct goes, and then head down Cambie. I will point out that a lot of these dividers are new for the Gastown project. So as little as even 3 weeks ago, maybe this wasn't a protected way. So it's not hard to make these ways protected. You just got to throw down some of those cement caterpillars and you're golden. Yeah, we got one way to get to Gastown. I think there might be another way over the Burrard Bridge. So let's try that next. All right, before we get into the Burrard Bridge, let's talk a little bit about the Granville Street Bridge. Do not attempt to ride your bike on the Granville Street Bridge. It's a nightmare, it sucks. In the city's defense, they are redoing it currently, which is part of why it sucks. The plan has about this much attempt at adding some bike lanes to it. It does have a bike lane on the bridge, but once you get off the bridge on the south side, it goes about 2 or 3 blocks up First Street. Doesn't connect to South Granville, doesn't connect to Granville Island, so it's kind of a useless bike lane. Hopefully they can make it better at some point, but the current plan is straight up not good enough. I'm here now at the south end of the Burrard Street Bridge. You can tell because all these cars here are having a nightmare of a time, and I'm having a great time because it's a nice day out. To get back here from Gastown, I rode all the way down Richards and then all the way down Pacific. I did, however, had to ride on the wrong side of the bike lane on Pacific because the westbound bike lane is under construction as part of the Granville Bridge construction. So I did have to ride the wrong way, which again, maybe I don't recommend it, but also, you know, you gotta do what you gotta do. So if you're coming down Burrard, the absolute most direct way to get to Gastown that is protected the whole way, you can head down Pacific right along here, Pacific, Bike Street, and then you can go up Richards. It's boring, it's just straight, and there's red lights all over the place. I think I hit almost every single red light because they're not timed for cyclists, they're timed for cars, and it sucks. The fire rescue is stuck in the cars. If there were fewer cars on the road, the fire rescue would be able to get around faster. Only because I just rode the Pacific to Richards bike way, and I want to see if there's another way to do it. So we found one protected way to get to Gastown, but not from Gastown. So we're going to see if we can find a way that is protected the whole way. I think there's going to be 2. So 3 ways total from the Burrard Bridge to get to Gastown that are protected. We'll find out. Let's do it. All right, so far we've gone Burrard to Drake, and now we're at Smythe. You can take Smythe all the way to Richards, so that's another route. So one very specific route: Burrard, Drake, Hornby, Smythe, Richards to Gastown. But we're going to keep going down Hornby because there's another good way. That's actually my preferred way down Dunsmuir. So let's do that. What up, Nick? All right, right-hand turn see me give a shout out to my homies at the Cycle City Tours. And now we're turning left on Richards. All right, we found 3 ways to get from the Burrard Bridge to Gastown that are protected the whole way. Burrard to Pacific to Richards and then all the way down. Burrard to Drake to Hornby to Smythe to Richards and then all the way down. Burrard to Drake to Hornby to Dunsmuir and then to Richards and all the way down. The reason I wanted to go down Hornby the longest is that I got to go past Cycle City, which is a company where I did bike tours from for 2 summers, and they're a great gang. And you may have noticed my friend Nick was just leaving his tour as I was riding by, so he caught up to me and we actually rode and chatted for about 6 blocks, which is something you can't do when you're in a car. So one of the other plus sides of riding your bike is you get to see people you know and talk to them, which is, you know, a plus in general. I also want to point out that up until about a week ago, there would have been cars coming down this road right here. So this route that I came down Richards wouldn't have been protected because it would have dumped you headfirst into oncoming traffic, which is generally frowned upon. So this is a little bit better, but I will add, at this intersection here, there's no signaling at all. So if you're coming down Richards, you can't tell if the cars are about to go or if they've stopped or if you have the right to go. So take it careful there. There was a car that started going as I was crossing, you may have seen in the video. I think he yelled at me, but also I don't really care. So just keep that in mind that this is, even though there's a protected bike lane, I wouldn't call this a safe intersection for bikes. Oh, and a Lamborghini. There you go. A loud asshole Lamborghini to end off the video. Sweet. So in conclusion, if you're an East Van, there's no protected way to get to Gastown at all. Keeping in mind that Carroll Street is not protected, in my opinion. If you're on the seawall, there's no real protected way to get to Gastown. Because the best way to do that would be the Carroll Street bike lane, which is also, as we just mentioned, not protected. Sorry I keep harping on that, but it really is a major hole in the system here, that Carroll Street bike lane. If you're coming over the Cambie Street Bridge, which there's no real reason you would do that, there is a protected way to do it. And if you're coming over the Burrard Bridge, there's 3 different ways you can go that all kind of are the same way because they all lead you back down Richard Street. So in conclusion, there's basically one realistic, safe way to get to Gastown that's protected the whole way if you're coming over the Burrard Street Bridge. And if you're on the south side of the Burrard Street Bridge, you wouldn't want to go over the Burrard Bridge to get to Gastown. You'd want to take the seawall and then take Carroll Street, which, as we mentioned, is not a protected bike lane. There you go. I definitely think you should come down to Gastown and check out this new car-free zone. But the bike lanes are not a great way to do it. Relatively speaking, the bike lanes are still safer than driving. You just gotta keep your head on a swivel. So rock and roll and have a good one. Bye.